When?
Willow heard a familiar voice whispering her name. The only person who ever called her that was Raymond, and he had adopted the nickname when they were young. It was unusual, and when she had asked him about it, he had said he didn't have a specific reason for using it.
I think her eyes fluttered.
She heard Raymond's voice again. With great effort, Willow managed to open her eyes into tiny slits. The intense brightness of the room made her squint, and she quickly closed her eyes again before gradually opening them again. As her vision adjusted, she realized she was in a hospital room, and there were 3 people present, one of whom was Raymond. He came forward, gently took her hand, and squeezed it, saying,
When?
As Willow continued to regain her senses, a person she assumed was the doctor came closer with a small flashlight and pointed it into her eyes.
Hey, Willow, I'm Dr. Lin. How's your head? Does it hurt?
Willow managed to shake her head slightly.
Face hurts.
Her words came out slurred. Dr. Lin offered a smile.
I'll get to that in a minute, but your pupils look healthy. Do you know what happened to you?
Car hit.
It hurt to speak. Her entire face hurt. Dr. Lin nodded in acknowledgement.
Yes, you were in a car accident. My team and I managed to get you out safely, but there's an issue with your face. A lot of shards from the car got into your face, and I'll be honest with you, Willow, your face is a scarred mess.
A whimper escaped Willow's throat, and Raymond squeezed her hand in comfort. Dr. Lin continued.
So, I would like to make you an offer. We have some of the best plastic surgeons in this hospital, and Dr. Ami
She pointed to the petite woman in the room with a perfect face.
would like to help in the reconstruction of your face. Also, if you're worried about the cost, I'm happy to tell you that a generous donor has taken care of all your hospital bills.
Willow's eyes widened in surprise at the news. She immediately turned to Raymond, thinking he was the donor, but he shook his head.
I don't know who it is either.
He told her. Apart from that, though, she had a lot of reservations. She had no experience with plastic surgery, so she didn't know what it would entail, what the consequences might be for her life, and whether it would even be successful. As if she could sense Willow's reservations, Dr. Ami stepped closer, standing by the bedside.
There might be some complications, but I promise to give your face the best reconstruction. You can trust me with this.
Willow turned to her best friend, Raymond, who added,
I can vouch for Dr. Amy. She's the best at what she does.
With Raymond's vote of confidence, Willow nodded.
Okay.
Dr. Lin interjected.
Dr. Amy will provide you with all the details about the procedure. All right?
Willow nodded as Dr. Lin and Raymond left the room, leaving her alone with Dr. Amy. Over the next hour, Dr. Amy explained the entire surgical procedure to Willow in detail. She discussed the potential risks and complications, the expected timeline of the surgery and recovery, and what the final results might look like. Dr. Amy reassured her once more.
I understand this is a big decision, Willow, and it's completely up to you. If you need time to think it over, I'm here to support you every step of the way.
Decided. I'll do it.
As Caspian entered the boardroom, he tried to shake the lingering thoughts about Willow. He had received the news that her surgery had gone well, and that was enough for him. He didn't need to check on her. For now, he needed to focus on the board meeting and the proposal he was presenting today. The board members were already seated, and the atmosphere in the room was tense. It had only been a few months since he took over as the CEO of Leroy Company, and it hadn't been a smooth ride. In a few months, this was the second board meeting he was attending. During the first, his position had been challenged by the members, and he had dismissed 4 of the members. Today, Caspian was going for a bold approach. As his secretary passed around the minutes of the previous meeting and board paper, he took a stand in front of the room and began speaking. Caspian had called the meeting to discuss the company's current standing. Just last month, they had recorded the lowest sales figures the company had ever experienced.
I'll get straight to the point. We've lost quite a few customers, but I'm proposing a project that will increase our sales by 20% in 3 months. There's a small chance of this happening, but in the case that it does, I'm prepared to take the absolute blame and resign.
Ignoring the murmurs from the room, he continued.
That'll be all for this meeting.
And truly, that was all he had to say. As the board members left the room, the chairman stopped beside Caspian.
I hope you know what you're doing. I would hate to see you lose your job.
Caspian gave a brisk nod as he acknowledged the man's words. The chairman walked out and went back to his office. Willow was a completely new woman. After the surgery, it had taken over 3 weeks for her scars to heal. Surprisingly also, the effect of her meds on her body was enormous. In those couple of weeks, she lost a lot of weight. She was still trying to get used to her new face and body when Raymond made a suggestion one cold night.
Let's go to a pub.
She looked away from the television and to her friend who was already dressed to go out.
No.
Winnie, you've been cooped up here the entire period of your recovery. It's kind of sad. You need to go out.
I don't know if I'm ready yet.
She didn't think she could explain to Raymond how she was feeling. To have lived with a particular body and face for a good part of your life, suddenly having it changed to something else was not easy to get to. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she saw someone she didn't recognize. Willow was scared that people would see through her and call her an imposter, so she stayed at home where she was safe from prying eyes. Raymond sat across her and folded his legs.
I can't understand what it feels like to have your whole appearance change in such a short time. But I know from my experience with patients that you need to go out. To get rid of the imposter syndrome, you have to let others see you.
A smile appeared on Willow's face. Sometimes she hated listening to Raymond because he was so well-spoken. He could easily convince her to do anything.
Fine.
She yielded.
Fine. But it has to be somewhere small and quiet. I don't want somewhere with a crowd.
Raymond waggled his eyebrows at her.
I know just the place.
30 minutes later, they're walking inside a pub. It was small and quaint, and Willow felt at ease immediately. They took their seats at a table next to the door, and Raymond asked what she wanted to drink.
Surprise me.
Willow batted her eyelids at him. With a playful wink, Raymond said,
All right, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Alone again, Willow was left to her thoughts. There weren't a lot of people in the pub, but she caught a few people staring at her appreciatively. It made her blush every time. This was such a new experience for her.
Hey, beauty.
Thinking it was Raymond teasing her as usual, she looked in the direction of the voice with a smile and was surprised to find a stranger, one of the people who had been looking at her.
Hey!
Can I buy you a drink?
The man asked. Willow looked to the bar where she saw Raymond flirting with the female bartender.
I actually have company, and he's getting me a drink, but thanks.
However, the man persisted.
You look like a good drinker, though. How about I buy you a drink?
He didn't sound like he was asking, more like he wasn't going to take no for an answer. Willow was starting to feel uneasy.
Thanks, but no.
She forced a smile on her face, silently hoping he would leave, but that didn't happen. The strange man insists on buying her a drink.
You little bitch, you think you're the shit, right?
He sneered. Not really, Willow thought inwardly. She was starting to get scared and contemplated calling out to Raymond when a voice interrupted.
That lady said no, didn't she?
After a long and stressful day at the office, Caspian found himself in a pub. He visited regularly to unwind, nursing his drink, his thoughts still filled with the pending work. Caspian noticed a minor disturbance nearby. The other people around didn't notice, but a visibly intoxicated man seemed to be bothering a woman. An internal voice whispered,
Are you going to play the hero again?
The rational part of him urged him to leave the situation alone. After all, there were plenty of other people in the pub, and he overheard the woman mention that she was here with someone.
But what if she only said that to deter him? He's going to try to take a swing at me, isn't he?
Caspian pushed his chair back and strode purposefully toward the scene.
Oh, the lady said no, didn't she?
2 pairs of eyes turned toward Caspian, and the instigator regarded him with a mixture of annoyance and defiance.
What's your problem, buddy? We're just having a good time.
Caspian glanced at the woman's scared expression.
Though it seems like you're, illy and enjoying yourself here. And she clearly looks uncomfortable.
Did she say that?
The intoxicated man chuckled and, as expected, took a swing at Caspian. With fast reflexes, Caspian caught the man's hand and deftly twisted it behind his back.
Ow! Ow! Stop! That hurts!
The man yelped in pain. Caspian maintained his grip, refusing to release the drunk man's arm. He marched towards the pub's exit and forcefully pushed him away once they were outside.
Leave or I'll have to call the police.
He warned sternly. The intoxicated man responded with a barrage of obscenities and a rude gesture before finally staggering off into the night.
Well, there goes any thought of unwinding.
With that situation resolved, Caspian was ready to make his way home. However, as he turned to leave, a voice called out to him.
Mr. Leroy.
Caspian turned around to find the woman from the pub hurrying after him. It didn't surprise him that she recognized him, given that his face often appeared in the media due to his work, but her voice held a hint of familiarity.
Thank you for helping me back there. He was so persistent. I don't think he would have left without you stepping in.
As the woman got closer to Caspian, he got a clearer view of her face. The pub had been a little dark. She wasn't a familiar face, but a passing thought crossed his mind that she was quite pretty.
It was nothing.
Caspian said and began walking, not waiting for her response. His driver had dropped him off after work and gone ahead, and Caspian didn't live too far from the pub, so he decided to walk home.
When? What happened?
Raymond had just come out of the pub. Willow, still reeling from what just happened, called out.
Thank you again, Mr. Leroy.
She hadn't expected to be harassed by a drunk patron when she agreed to come out for the night, let alone be rescued by Caspian. But he didn't seem to have recognized her. She didn't know whether to feel happy or sad.
Are you okay, Win? And is that Caspian Leroy?
Raymond pointed in the direction of Caspian's retreating figure.
Why is he here?
Willow hesitated for a moment before responding.
It's a funny story. Do you mind if we just head home? I know you were enjoying your time with the bartender, but I really don't want to go back in there again.
Lexi, huh? She's just a really good friend.
Raymond replied, though he nodded and added,
I'll grab your purse and jacket, say goodbye, and make sure you don't wander off this time.
He playfully pointed a stern finger at Willow before rushing back inside the pub. Willow chuckled. Her thoughts went back to Caspian Leroy. It was strange how he suddenly showed up in her life again. What were the odds? In less than a minute, Raymond returned, holding her belongings.
Let's go.
They decided to walk back home instead of taking a taxi, giving them the chance to chat.
So,
Raymond began.
what happened back at the pub? And Caspian Leroy, what was that about?
Willow let out a sigh as she began to recount the evening's events.
So, this drunk guy comes up to me, right? And he's offering to buy me a drink, but I'm not interested. But he literally wouldn't take no for an answer. Thankfully, Caspian happened to be in the pub at that moment, and he immediately swooped.
Swooped?
Raymond interrupted with a laugh.
Yes, Ray, swooped.
Willow confirmed.
He appeared out of nowhere and took a guy out. It was quite attractive.
A strange expression briefly crossed Raymond's face, but Willow didn't notice as her attention was fixed on the road. Walking outside for the first time since her accident stirred up a mix of emotions within her.
Are you sure you're okay with walking?
Raymond, ever observant, had picked up on Willow's discomfort.
It's fine. I have to do it eventually.
Willow reassured him. She didn't recall much from the day of her accident. Her memory was mostly a blank slate after seeing the speeding car heading toward her.
Today doesn't have to be that day.
Raymond offered a gentle suggestion.
I promise, Ray, it's fine.
Willow insisted, casting a sideways glance at her friend.
Stop worrying. I'm okay.
All right.
He conceded, and the rest of their walk home was done in silence. Once they got home, Willow asked Raymond if he had to go into work the next day.
No, I'll stay back with you.
Raymond said, giving Willow a warm look.
Should I turn on the television?
Willow nodded enthusiastically.
I'll grab some snacks.
Spending a night watching TV and indulging in unhealthy food with her best friend. Nothing sounded better. The next morning, Willow awoke nearly at 9 to the doorbell ringing nonstop. Glancing around, she realized Raymond was nowhere to be found.
Is he in his room?
She got up, stretched until she heard a pop, and made her way to the door. Swinging it open, she was met with the last person she expected to see at her doorstep, her former boss, Tina.
Hello, I'm looking for Willow.
After her encounter with Caspian, Willow had figured out that people who knew her before didn't recognize her anymore. Also, due to her massive weight loss, her voice had become lighter.
Willow. Do you mean the chubby girl who used to live here?
An idea formed in Willow's mind. Tina's nodding was frantic.
Yes. What do you mean by used to live here? She doesn't stay here anymore. No, that can't happen.
Suppressing the smile that threatened to escape, Willow calmly replied,
Why are you looking for her anyway?
She was supposed to work on a project for Leroy Company, but she suddenly didn't show up to work one day. She's not picking up my calls, and I really need to get in contact with her.
Tina explained with a frazzled expression.
Oh, really?
Willow feigned sympathy, though inside, she was laughing at Tina's lie. This woman had fired her and now had the audacity to lie about it.
To be honest, we used to be roommates, but she moved out.
Willow deadpanned, anything to get her to leave because she wasn't interested in going back to work for Tina. Tina's disappointment was visible as her face fell.
Oh, do you have a number I can reach her on?
Sorry, no, we weren't exactly close.
Willow replied.
Oh, I see.
Well, if that's all.
Willow began to close the door, but Tina reached out a hand to stop it.
Wait, please, this is my card. If she ever stops by, could you tell her Tina is trying to reach her?
Accepting the card with a somber nod, Willow said.
Sure, Tina.
She then closed the door and collapsed onto the floor in a burst of laughter.
Someone's in a good mood.
Raymond had come out of his room and was brushing his teeth.
Who was at the door?
Oh, go!
Willow managed to say between giggles.
Go spit out what's in your mouth and I'll tell you.
As Willow recounted the encounter with Tina to Raymond, he found it amusing but also had an interesting suggestion.
What do you think about changing your name? Consider it a fresh start. The only people who know about your plastic surgery and weight loss are the doctors and me. This could be a chance to reinvent yourself.
Willow had to admit the idea sounded tempting. A new identity, a clean slate, and the opportunity to break free from the mistakes of her past.
Okay, it's a good idea, but what will be my new name?
Raymond's eyes sparkled with excitement.
How about when? I'm the only one who calls you that. This will be your reinvention.